architect Tahir, architect Shweta, and architect Chetan. It's so it's going to be a panel discussion, and we'll be talking about the current trend where architecture is moving. What we find now is that usually architecture is or just not buildings. No, they had much more to express. It was expression of arts. It was expression of a place, expression of a period, environment, and so many things. But now it has been all have been forgotten, or it has become a part of the past. Now we see architecture as buildings decorated with whatever is the latest materials and so many other factors. So how healthy this is? So this is going to be the debate, or this is going to be what all these people are going to deliberate about. I can ask Mr. Pramod to start the discussion.
Being the oldest, I thought I'll be called last. Hello, Excel. Good, I hear some voice. Very nice.
I prefer to start with Pramod. He has got a star value, no? You all would have seen him in the movies, no? So you can identify him. Okay. So it will be a good start. Start with him.
Okay.
After the show, you can line up for your autographs, no?
Does everyone know what movie we're talking about? Okay.
Done. I'm an architect. Change is constant, and that I think is acceptable. Through time, change has rapidly changed. And with the globalization of the world, we become very unified in our communication systems. What happens in the West or what happens in the East, we hear live or we see immediately. So to be able to get this off immediately, I would say your program is named Oculus. Another Oculus was opened yesterday. Can any one of you answer what that Oculus was opened yesterday? You're all architecture students. It's an architectural project by a very famous architect that had diverse opinions about it. I'll reduce the area of search to United States of America. Anybody has any idea? So that means the world has not reached you. I'm happy. Because Oculus is the railway station built by Santiago Calvatara where the World Trade Center stood. It got officially opened while you were asleep last night. Okay? So, very strange coincidence. An Oculus here, an Oculus there. All right? Both have different opinions. So there is a rapid change in terms of images coming to us, in terms of products coming to us, in terms of details coming to us. And there is this cultural baggage that we carry with us that we need to drop. We still look at the white with great splendor. We now look at the yellow with a little more splendor. So that which comes from the east and that which comes from the west is all accepted. But that which grows here is something all of us does not appreciate, right? You'd rather wear a Nike, you'd rather carry an Apple iPhone, you'd rather wear things that are bought from abroad, drive a BMW, but you won't pick up anything that's Indian, right? So therefore, the change is so rapid that all of us have become consumerists, right? And therefore, architecture has become a consumerist product. No more is it a, a building filled with emotion, a building built in context, a building built with the culture, but yet a building that is built today, interpreting what we had of yesterday, interpreting our culture and interpreting our traditions. The idea here is, how do we interpret with change? The challenge is for architects to be able to accept that challenge and deliver those projects. To give you an idea, if you look at the architects of yesteryear who have tried to do this, I can pick up many. One would be Raj Reval, two would be Charles Correa, Doshi in his initial years, Stein, who came from America, adapted himself to Indian conditions, Kanvinde are architects I hope you have heard of. Have you? Or do I have to go through a space capsule and come to 2014 and say Sanjay Mohe, Prem Chandavakar, Sanjay Puri, Hafiz Contractor? No? Have you heard of all of these names as architects?
All didn't act in a movie, no.
Have you heard of these names? No? Then why is it so soft? Why can't the yes be? So, when you as young architects look at what you need to do, you look from the past and build for the present with the context in mind. And the context is not a physical context. It's not the physical land. It's the history of the land. It's the culture of the place. It's the smells of the place. And it's the era of today that you interpret from the past and build for today. Unfortunately, we have got caught in this consumerist world and have started aping whatever is being done in the West and the East. We are not aping what has been done in our own country in the past and reinterpreting it. So I think if we don't do this, a Mumbai will look like a Shanghai, a Chennai will look like a Dubai, and no, Chennai can never look like a Dubai, but get close to maybe a Thailand or something like that, and you will land up in every city feeling, hey, I've seen this before. I've seen this before. It happens to me today that whenever I see some buildings coming up around in the country, I keep saying, I've seen this before. I've seen this before. And I just need to Google it, and that building would be there somewhere else in the world. If we become involved as fashionistas, where mascara, rouge, eyeliner, and the cap become important elements of architecture, then we've stopped being architects. It's a tragedy. So I would completely say that I would stand with tradition, interpretive tradition, culture, interpretive culture, and stay with change. You understand? You can't.
No, you don't have to wait till the end of the session to pose your questions. Then and there, you can come out with your question. You can question Architect Pramod now. Who wants to question? Anyone wants to ask any clarification or want to question or have a different opinion than what Architect Pramod has? On your behalf, I'll ask one question. When we are aping the way we live and the way we eat from the West or from somewhere else, why not ape architecture also?
I'm aping. Oh, that was me. Can you repeat the question? That's the famous last word.
No, when we are aping the way we live, to what we eat, to what we dress, and everything from the West or from somewhere else, Why not ape architecture also? No?
Yeah, that's a good question. If we are apes, we'll ape. So we have first agreed that we are apes. Then there's no discussion. Because then we're apes all across the world. Right? Where's your tail? You have a tail? Are your hands longer than your legs?
Long back.
Are your hands longer than your legs? No. So we're not apes. So I don't think we need to ape anything. Food is not necessarily something that's permanent. It's a choice of taste for the moment. Dress is a choice of taste for the moment. Architecture built remains for a long, long time to come until you find a bulldozer to bring it down or a tsunami to wipe it off. So I don't think you should ape.
Faith. Even so, why is it that when there are new buildings, new temples being built, architects are never asked to design or even to improvise or reinterpret anything that's been done in the past? Why do we tend to accept certain things as the benchmark and we go around questioning a lot of other things? Any new temple, let's look at Akshardham being the most prominent one recently that I can think of. There's nothing that's been new or modern in its approach to building, and I think these are buildings that are thronged by lakhs of people. Is there something that we can do in these spheres? Should we even attempt?
I'll take this argument a little forward. If you see the church and how it has transformed itself to what is being done today, what Ando did with his church, 2 churches, what Stephen Hall did with his church. Have you heard of Tata Ando? Stephen Hall? Okay, what they did with churches began with Nervi in San Francisco, an engineer turned architect, did a fantastic abstraction of the church by changing its entire plan form. But they all had one symbol, which was the cross, right? We have 300,000 deities, right, as a Hindu culture. And we have in our cultural subconscious accepted that the abode of the Lord has a certain form, a certain crafted form, a certain language, a certain proportion. And we are unable to get out of it. And I don't find that very many architects have been approached to build temples. It's always been the Sthapati who has been asked to build the temple. Whether it's a Jain temple, the Jain Sthapati will come from Rajasthan and build the temple. He'll have his proportions. If it's a temple in Chennai, maybe the Sthapati will come from Mahabalipuram or something like that. So there are proportions and there are stories to be told. There's not a singular story to be told. There are numerous stories to be told. Every lord has his own little story to be told. His own little, faith that people have in. So in that picture, it becomes very difficult for an architect to come and change drastically something like that. But having said that, we've done something very recently for the Shirdi Sai Baba. We were asked to do a meditation center for the Shirdi Sai Baba. It's completely modern.
And where is this?
It's in Kanakpura in Bangalore. It's completely modern. It has a philosophy. It takes the mandala. It takes life. It takes the culture. It takes the senses, and then converts it into a modern day language without idolizing and replicating norms, but tending to being saying that this could be a dome, this could be a gopuram kind of stuff. So when it comes to single people, it becomes easy. When it becomes to a group, it becomes very difficult. But having said that, Sanjay Mohe has done something very brilliant in a temple in Bangalore. So it depends on how and who gives you the chance to do it. So if you look at the Bai temple, it's a temple with nothing, right? It's a space, it's the lotus. So abstraction requires simplification and understanding the underlying principle and not getting lost in all the stories. So for a Hindu temple to become completely modern, I think, I don't know, it might never happen. Yes, it will be built in stone and brick and no, it will be built in brick and concrete. It will not be built in stone.
No, I think one more exercise of a very contemporary temple was by an young architect called Harimohan, who used the clay blocks as jalis. I think there has been a new language which is coming out for temples too. But I think from where she started off, and where you even talked about Stapadis coming on board, is because temples have a lot of story to tell. And stories can be told through craft. And that is something we as modern architects are kind of trying to disassociate ourselves with, right? We don't want to introduce craft. We don't want to introduce another person's involvement into the project. And somewhere I think even if we start working with that, we can create some very interesting modern structures with an element of a relationship to the past.
What about Tahir? You got something to say on this?
Well, I'm not sure what I'm responding to, but I think it's the discussions that we've been having. I think one of the key things that Pramod said that I completely agree with is basically as students and of architecture, I think you all need to start building this ability to dissect anything that you see for that matter. It really doesn't have to be a building, but be able to dissect it for all the things that it stands for, from the structure, from its physical qualities, from its appearance, and not just be swayed by certain parameters. And I think if you have the ability to do that, and the better you get at doing that, I am very, very sure that you'll be able to take inspiration from almost anything. And hopefully you'll soon realize the inspiration is right where you are sitting. It's all around you. And another point that I think Sir brought up was, I think it's as simple as this. We're already, I think, too late in going green in any way. We are not building anything, for that matter. Building anything is not really sustainable, and we cannot afford to keep doing things the way that we are. So for that very, very basic reason, I really think we should be questioning the kind of work that we're all doing. And Pramod has said this some time back, and I remember very clearly where he agreed that I think a lot of us have failed very miserably as architects in contributing to cities, in contributing to the building of communities. And I really think that requires a lot of introspection from students like yourselves. We would love to be bombarded by all of you and hear what you think of what you're seeing all around you. And the only way you'll get that sensibility is if you start dissecting.
In terms of, do we need to relate to the context, or do we just need to copy paste something from the West and call that modern? I don't know if you guys have heard of something called the Earth Overshoot Day, which is a United Nations calculated measure of how much of resources we are taking from Earth and how much is Earth reproducing the same stuff for us. You'll be very happy that your generation and my generation, we have already consumed this year's resources. When it reaches June 30th, which means that we need 2 Earths every year to sustain ourselves. Do we really need to get into that kind of a search for an egoist statement of an architect by making it very modern, from taking something stylish from the West and putting it? Or do we really work with the context? Do we really work with what works for the climate? Can I get a wave of hands of whoever is with us right now? Okay, quite few. Okay.
Okay. Chetan has opened up another topic, the importance of sustainability and all these things. I'll ask the others to respond for or to continue with what Chetan has initiated.
I think this whole trend of saying no to monumental architecture has begun, with due regard and respect to Zaha Hadidi and all the architects who are doing some phenomenal work. We will have to understand what is the carbon footprint that the building leaves. So even for us as architects and students of architecture, maybe we need to start scaling down, looking at smaller things and appreciating what we see, and say that not necessarily, we don't need monuments everywhere. Every city cannot have, every second building cannot be a monument which is going to shape or become the face of the city. We will have to live with livable buildings that are sensitive, and I think that's going to be far more important.
What about you, Pramod?
This word sustainability has suddenly surfaced up. I think architects were always building sustainable for a long, long period of time, until corporate America came into the country and wanted to move their products. They brought in the LEED rated building. And the LEED rated building was the most rubbish calculation for a green building. Absolutely rubbish. And when many of us shouted it down, we got Griha, which is again based on the LEEDs rated this thing. But none of this is required, because as architects, we have to build sustainable buildings. It's when you copy something without understanding it that it becomes a problem. Now I'll tell you a cultural this thing of what happens. Let's take the glass towers that we all talk about, right? Let's take a glass tower in New York. What's the climate like? It's cold, they want the sun. The city is a beautiful city to look at. So what happens in an office? As a young man, when you come into the office, you sit in the center pool where you don't get to see the city. And as you grow in the firm, you get the perimeter office. So you get a window to look out into the city. And as you become a bigger person, you get the corner office on the floor that you are on. The CEO sits right on top at the corner office. So the city is his canvas. He stands there and sees his canvas, right? What happens in India? Every glass building is covered with blinds. And who sits there? The youngest people who have just joined the office, because it's the hottest place in the office. So in our country, it's the reverse direction. As you become bigger and bigger, you get into a black hole of Calcutta. So while you are young, you're getting burnt, and while you grow, you get dark. So we are copying things that are not culturally and climatically efficient for our system. And when you do that, you don't become sustainable. You don't become sustainable. So if you can think about all of these things, you won't do these things. You can do glass buildings. Of course you can do glass buildings. Unless and until you know the climate, you know the direction, you can do glass buildings which don't consume energy. So I think there is a need for introspection. Today's world, I saw all the work in the halls that all of you had put up. It was all cut, stick, and paste. There were some wonderful drawings, but many of them were just images picked up from the net and lots of writing. So we are losing it right now. We are consuming without knowing what we are consuming. And I'm afraid you will eat the chocolate with the wrapper very soon. That's the way the consumption is being done without thinking. So if you don't think, then we are going to burn. Because I just told you how many architects we are going to produce, and of all of you are going to build. And if all of you are insensitive and believe the West and the East...
I did not know that, but yeah, that's sincerely what I feel. So put yourselves out there. Allow yourself to experience these things. Yeah, America is making one and promotes planning to buy it.
Okay. So there's wonderful architecture going across the world. Instead of copying it, and you can try to understand the process, the principles behind those architecture. To understand those processes and principles, then you can try to adapt that or try it out for your context. You should be always very conscious about the context where you are building, what this context needs, and how you can respond to that. The other speakers can share some ideas on how to understand the processes and principles of that architecture. What is it you let to learn from the West? Is it the exact copy of that, or how to get the essence and how we can adapt that in our architecture?
No, I think, very frankly, I mean, we're all on the same ground, even though it's supposed to be a parallel discussion where we're supposed to debate against each other, but we're all on parallel ground. And we have a group of kids here who end up on their design tables with forms which we have not been able to visualize, with forms which which has cropped up a lot of imagination from either playing around with their geometries or playing around with Rhino or CAD or whatever. So I want some questions out from them as a counter debate, right? Because I am sure all of you are a lot into technology. How many of you are in 5th year? Yes. Great. So how many of you are already into various computer software programs? AutoCAD, Revit, Rhinos. How many of you know about it? Come on, man. I'm sure half the crowd, half the names should go up. Okay, the one with the red shirt.
I attended a symposium, I think last week. So I just had an touch up with this Rhino and Grasshopper softwares. So I am actually first year. I don't know much about this Grasshopper and any of these design softwares.
Okay. So do you think the softwares have more, when we respect tradition so much, I'm now taking the other paradigm, right? When we respect our tradition so much, when we say that even in our architecture we need to go back, why am I not getting dressed in the way my ancestors used to be dressed up? Why do I need to just look at architecture there?
Sir, these generations designs are means it.
If you're comfortable speaking in Tamil,
No,
go ahead. I think I can get the translation from one of them.
I'm from Kerala. Sorry.
Malayalam is also fine. We have some people here.
Your English said you were a Malayali.
Sorry, adding here.
Pediatric clinic.
Yeah, and a major project of memorial, a memorial hall.
Okay. So you're in your first year.
Yeah, first year.
School? Where are you studying?
I am studying at Ranganathan Architecture College, Coimbatore.
Okay, what's the design process you guys are involved? What's the process you are working on? Is it looking like your villages?
No. We have not been introduced to any computer softwares and all. So we are still doing on this.
Correct. No, my question has been, since you're inspired from traditional architecture, is your pediatric clinic like a...
No.
Okay. Like what, how is the whole design? How is it looking?
It's more like modern. Means. No.
System, it's not practical as far western countries in India. You're not getting.
It went above my head.
Oh, okay. It's like why are the education system not practical as when compared to the far western countries in India?
Have you assessed the Western countries?
Yeah, I didn't went actually, but I could just see.
Seen what?
What? It's like nowadays it's something called internet.
Yeah, but what have you seen that is practical there and not and impractical here?
Um, like students are allowed to make their own.
Make their own?
Make their
Are you making it right now?
I'm not making
Make their own what?
what- own studies like research or something.
Are you?
Very frankly, who's stopping you?
Sorry.
Who's stopping you?
I think it's my nervousness.
No, in doing a research, who's stopping you?
Correct. I guess
No, guys, I think this is a very important question which he put across. And I think the answer goes out to each one of you here. Okay? A bachelor's of science, bachelor of commerce, but it's actually considered, even though a lot of you and a lot of us don't accept that we are part of an engineering college. Okay? It's a technical program. Okay? And it's not your pre-university courses. It's your university course. It's a course where you start working. And the faculties are pure guides. Hello, I'm with you. I need that visual connect at least. Right?
Okay.
Okay. Faculties are pure guides. Now, especially with architecture, there's a lot more freedom which is given to a student of architecture than what I see in a engineering college. Now, how do you push that yourself as an individual? I don't see that happening with a lot of students. I don't see students having that. I mean, that's where I'm trying to throw across, ask you guys to put questions across to us of literally sabotaging this whole dialogue of tradition and modernity and asking you students to question us. How many of you have got the zeal to push yourself beyond and do a little bit of research and come back to your design studios? We all ask you whenever we come for a jury, that's when all of you get fired. All of us ask you, what's a concept? I need the visual connect, hero. Please. No, all of us. We all ask you, what's a concept? Any creative thought process to go push yourself, understand a particular process, then come back to your design studio. I don't think any faculty would stop you from going beyond your bubble diagrams and single drawings and single line drawings and double line drawings if you have a wonderful thought process there. I think you need to break the rules. You need to understand that there's a world out there which can throw you with so many possibilities. Today, knowledge is something called the internet, is so freely available for us. Knowledge is right there across the knock of our fingers. Just go knock and study and readdress, analyze, then put it back to your designs. It'll work.
I'd like to add to that and also eventually hand over the mic to Pramod to say a few words. But the fact that knowledge is at your fingertips, is the biggest problem. I think that it's only just glazed over. It's not interrogated at all. And I feel like we do not question the so-called knowledge that we are receiving or we are able to access so easily on the internet. I mean, there's, in my opinion, not all of it is true, not all of it is 100% authentic, not all of it is, makes sense maybe. And I think that is the biggest problem that we see with those of you who use the internet extensively for research. We all do, us included, but that's the danger right there. But to answer your question as to why it's not like, say, colleges in the far west, I can vouch for my dad is an architect also, and I have heard a lot of stories about his days as a student of architecture, and my guess is Pramod and him are around, they're a few years apart, but I'd like to take this chance to let Pramod talk a little bit about his time at SEPT, because I know what SEPT was like. I know what the School of Architecture and Planning were like. And they've churned out some unbelievable architects, and here is probably why.
You really want to hear this? Anybody want to hear this? What happened in the 1940s? But that's old. It's no more fun. You're talking about tradition. Do you want to hear about traditions? Yeah? Okay. This guy's just put me into it, and he's just given me a couple of barks around me so that my age has grown.
I told him clearly my job is just to keep handing over the mic to you.
Our course was 7 years. Your course is 5, right? We never finished in 7. We took 8, 9. We didn't have the net, right? We had teachers who never told us what to do. We had to learn ourselves. We learned from each other. We learned from our seniors. We learned from our juniors. We made things with our hands, right? And we read a lot. And we debated a lot. And we fought a lot from positions, right? We were not involved in presentations. We were not interested in the beauty of the drawing. We were interested in the content of what we were showing, right? And anybody who did a beautiful drawing, we tore it up. Because anything made beautiful, the eye gets stuck at that beauty for a moment and does not recognize what the content is. So we were all content-oriented. We were all argumentative, right? And we all began to build our positions. That's how architecture needs to be taught. That's how anything needs to be taught. And it begins from sharing. It begins from questioning, which I said a few hours ago. And it also begins with us valuing our work for ourselves. So from the very inception, from the first year onwards, we were always questioning. And we questioned our teachers. And our teachers were idols, icons. The people who taught me were Doshi, Raje, Hasmukh, and many others that I can name, Kulbhushan Jain. These are guys that if you question, you better have a good question, right? So we were brought up that way. We still question, right? And therefore, it is important that all of you learn for yourself. I think all of you want to be taught. All of you want everything to be given. Is that right? And all of you will do what is given to you within the framework of what is given to you. Right?
But this was what was happening for them in the school, and I think they are expecting the same thing when they come for architecture also.
Yeah, maybe. So that's how, we were taught, and it's the best learning. It's the best learning. I'm still learning. Like I said a few hours ago, we're still learning. It comes from within. So a first-year student needs to understand what is being taught to you, right? I saw some drawings there of graphical drawings of illusions and paintings and all of that. And all of you did it and left it at that. Each of those were little door openings that allowed you to investigate further. You understand? So if there was a Piet Mondrian painting there, somebody had done, you were going to open the book and go and find who this guy is, what the style was, what was it all about, and that will lead you to many other stories. If you picked up your illustrations and graphics that you had done, you will see who are the others who did this. You will find Escher. You will find Vasarely, right? I'm sure you've never heard of these people. So when you find Escher and you find his drawings of how it tessellates, and you begin to understand the meaning of tessellation, and how does it tessellate? right? How does an architectural drawing become an illusion? Is that little door that was open to you while you were doing that exercise. If at every door I had to show you the step to go down or step to go up, every step you'd ask me to come and show you the next step. Right? So you'll always need to be directed. Design education is opening those small doors. And from Dustile and from Vassalary and from Escher, you will go to so many things. You can go backwards, you can go forwards, you can go transverse, and suddenly you have everything, because on the net you find so many links to so many things. We didn't have that. We had to go find a book on Escher, fight over it, and after Escher we didn't know where to go. After Vassalary we didn't know where to go, till we found others that were doing it. So all of these are important things. So what happens is you learn history as history 1, history 2, history 3. You learn it as a subject because you were taught a subject in school. At architecture school, the subject is only the door opening. There's a little light that comes with the door that opens. The light of new knowledge. And as you open the door and go in, you become elated, right? When you see something new, when you see something wonderful, don't you get elated? No, you don't? I think you will. You should. Because if you don't get elated, then it becomes a problem. So all these things are very, very important. Extremely important. So one book leads to another book, one thought leads to another thought, one thought leads to a counter thought. Then you bring your thought into the picture. And you're constantly learning, because the teachers unknowingly have opened doors for you. The exercises given to you are not exercises in closed holes. They are open-ended exercises. You understand? So if you look at an exercise, that's what I have to do. Finished, done with, dusted. Wow, no more submission.